If you've been in spiritual spaces and you're trying to manifest and you're watching law of assumption videos, you've probably heard some conflicting information like hold on to your desire no matter what, and also detach from the outcome. How on earth are you supposed to do both at the same time? Well, in this video, I'm going to be breaking it down. Hi, my name is Amanda Abaya. Welcome to Mindful Success Path. On this channel, we help high achievers, high performers, business leaders, and anyone who wants to live their best life get exactly what it is that they desire without all the extra stress, drama, and chaos that most people are accustomed to. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we have coming out on this channel. And if you would like to take everything that we're going to be talking about in this video a step further, I do have a free manifestation guide below where I explained the 4-step process that I took to go from broke, miserable, single, not living my dreams, and unhealthy really, to in 18 months being engaged to get married, living in other countries, traveling full-time, and running 6-figure businesses that mostly run on autopilot and are getting more visibility than ever. So if that's something that you're interested in on how to rewire your mind to allow for all the success that you want in your life, then make sure to download that free guide below. All you have to do is input your name and email, and boom, you're going to get it straight to your inbox. So let's first do a quick recap of law of assumption. The law of assumption basically states that whatever it is that you believe that you're going to get, whatever it is that you assume is what you're going to get. So in the case of money, if you assume you're going to make money and you assume you're going to make X dollars, then you're going to make X dollars. In the case of a relationship, if you assume that you're going to have a wonderful, loving, romantic partnership, then that's what you're going to get. If you assume that life is hard, life is going to be hard. If you assume that life is easy, then life is going to be a lot easier for you. Now, the question becomes, how do we do this in a way when we're not attached, especially if we're in a situation where, for example, you have bills to pay, and in the case of money, it's very attached to our very survival. So it can be a little challenging when somebody tells you, in fact, you want to choke them, when somebody's like, yeah, in order to manifest money, you need to be detached and let go. Know what your goal is, but be detached. And you just want to strangle them because you're like, I got rent due. So I understand. I get it. It can be very challenging. I have been there myself, but as somebody who has been there themselves, that I can tell you that yes, detachment is actually the secret weapon. Now, what is detachment? Detachment is when you are not attached to how the money is going to show up, how the man is going to show up, how you're going to lose the weight, how you're going to be able to book that trip. Whatever it is that you're trying to manifest, you're not attached to how or even necessarily when it happens. And the reason why I say when is because sometimes people try and they add a lot of stress and pressure to themselves when they're like, this must happen in the next 24 hours, and that's exactly what it is that we are trying to avoid. So let me share an example that came actually relatively recently. This is a cognition I had recently that I'd never noticed before. So I was manifesting a specific amount of money by the end of the year. I was using the law of assumption and I was using the visualizing techniques that I like to use for success. We have another video on that. You can check it below. But one of the things that I kept seeing was in my visualizations, I was only seeing Stripe notifications. Now, for those of you who don't know what Stripe is a payment processor that a lot of us online business owners use to sell courses, programs, coaching packages, all those kinds of things. So when I was visualizing, I was only seeing the Stripe notifications come through. They didn't necessarily have numbers on them or anything, but I would pretend on my phone and here come all the Stripe notifications, right? And I started getting more of those. And then I had this cognition where I was like, oh, maybe I'm trying to control too much by saying it must be Stripe. I was just saying Stripe because that's where I've seen most of the money come from. But in reality, what I was doing is that I was cutting off this whole other ways of money coming in. So I said, you know what? I'm open to it showing up in any way that it needs to show up. So maybe in my visualization, I'm seeing the Stripe notifications because that helps me to visualize and get in the feeling, but I'm not attached to it coming from Stripe necessarily. That just helps me get in the feeling, but I'm open to it coming from whichever way that it can. And when I started opening up to that, this very interesting thing started to happen. So number one, we got a lot of unexpected money a couple of months ago from a life insurance policy from a family member that had passed away. Like, whoa, and way more money than we thought it was going to be. So that was one of the things that happened. And then the other thing that happened is we started getting clients that start, instead of using their credit cards and then the money coming in through Stripe, they were just sending wires. Right? And it was like, boom, all the money all at once from a wire. And it had never occurred to me until relatively recently that the money could even come in a wire, right? Because most Americans don't use wires. But now that we're doing a lot more international business, wires are a little bit more common. But the thought had never occurred to me. And I was, in the past, being way too attached to how the money was coming in rather than being open to it coming in any way that it can. So that's like a very basic example where I was obsessing over Stripe instead of realizing, hey, I could get wires, I could get cash, we could get unexpected money from family members. Like, it's not just limited to this business, and it's not just limited to Stripe payments. I might have a goal for the business. I might have a goal for how much money I want to come in, but I'm open to all the ways that it comes in. Another area where you practice detachment, and you have to do it, is in sales. So this is an area where I see a lot of people really screw up, right? Business owners, because and I'm going to give some practical tips on how to be more detached in the sales process. Because most people, and I've been teaching sales since 2017, so if you're interested in sales training, make sure to check out our Effortless Revenue Mastermind below, and you'll get all the sales training we've ever done and ever taught. So I've been training people on sales for a very long time. And what most people tend to do in sales, which, by the way, if you want to make extreme amounts of money, you need to learn sales. So what most people do in sales is that they're manipulative, they're controlling, they're very attached. They put way too much pressure on the one person that they are talking to in that moment, and then they fumble the sale because they're way too attached to that one person. Or they make up a bunch of stories in their heads. Like, for example, we had a client recently who was in a sales conversation, and she would do really great in the first half of a sales conversation. She was having fun, she was playing, she was detached, she was asking all the right questions. But then when it would get to the second half, when we're actually talking about money and asking about money, that's where she would start fumbling the ball. She would get visibly nervous. You could hear it in her voice. And I was like, hey, what's going on there? What's going through your mind when we get to that part of the sales conversation? And she's like, yeah, I just keep having all these visions. Like, I have to close this sale in order to get to my goal, and my whole family's depending on it. And then if I don't close it, I'm not going to get to my goal. And then I'm going to let my family down. And it was like a whole thing. And I was like, well, that's a little dramatic, isn't it? Playfully, I said that. Because the truth was, it was kind of dramatic for the situation at hand. She was literally, like, in her mind was playing this trick where she was literally putting the entire future of her family on one conversation. And then when she became aware of it, she's like, oh, well, that's a little silly, like, that I'm doing that, because of course there's going to be more sales. Of course there's going to be more people to talk to. Of course money's going to come in from different places. She just wasn't aware that that's what was going on in that moment until I asked the question. So that would be an example of how to detach. If you're in a sales conversation, you can't put your entire future on one person that you're talking to. Now, there's a practical way to detach in sales. So let me talk about that momentarily. And the practical way to detach, which most business owners out here are not doing, the practical way to detach is to have so many prospects to talk to that, hey, if this person doesn't buy it, somebody else is going to buy it. That's the practical thing you can do. It's a game of numbers is the practical thing you can do. So maybe if you're a business owner, that means I'm going to put out more videos to get more visibility and get more prospects. Maybe I'm going to reach out to more people. But you're detached, right? And the reason you're detached is because you've stacked the odds in your favor mathematically to get what it is that you want. So that's a super practical example in terms of business and sales, where again, you can make it easier for you to be detached by stacking the numbers in your favor. Now, another area where you can practice detachment is, for example, sales posts. So last month, yeah, it'll be last month by the time this video comes up, I was in meditation. I had this idea. I was going to be teaching a YouTube workshop for our mastermind clients, and I got the download to make it public for a few people, and then they could pay for seats. So I did that. I did 2 Facebook posts, and we sold thousands of dollars worth of workshops from 2 Facebook posts and a couple of emails. Now, I had never done that before. The difference between every other time I had tried to do this and this time was that, number one, it was a download that came through in a meditation, and I'm open and surrendered to the guidance that I'm receiving. So that's number one. And then number two, I was completely detached as to whether or not anybody bought the thing. I was not trying to write 7 posts a day, trying to sell the thing. Might that have stacked the odds in my favor? Yeah, of course, it would have stacked the odds in my favor, but I wasn't really attached to whether or not anybody was going to buy this thing. In fact, right, if we were using the law of assumption, I was pretty confident we were going to get some sales. And not only did we get sales for the workshops, then we got upsells into our higher level programs that came from people attending the workshop first. So I actually ended up blowing my goal for that way out of the water, just not necessarily in the way that I was expecting, and I was open to that. So this is really the difference. If you're using the law of assumption, it's really the difference between trying to control every single little thing, which, let's be real, is so exhausting and just puts us into hypervigilance, and playing and trusting that everything is going to be okay, and being in a state of play, of, okay, life, I'm going to play with you and I'm going to see what happens now. When I made that shift between super controlling to I'm playing with life, that's when things really started to shift. And then that's when I was able to let go more of the control. And that's when I was able to detach more, because if you're playing, then you're detached. You're not trying to control every single little detail. You're just having fun. So if you're having fun, then you vibrate higher, and then you are going to more naturally and more easily attract what it is that you desire. So stop taking everything so damn seriously. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like because it helps us with the algorithm. Also make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we have coming out on this channel. And make sure to check out that manifestation guide below, because it'll go more into the neuroscience of everything that I explained in this video, and it'll go deeper about how to rewire your nervous system for what it is that you desire. You can grab it for free below, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.